The newest San Francisco 49er running back Brian Robinson Jr. hit the practice field for the first time Monday and spoke with the media. Is he and Christian McCaffrey the best duo in the NFL? Cuts happening. All that and more on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Coach Crocky. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Love our everydayers. Thanks for hanging with us throughout the offseason. We're almost there, kicking off real soon. Big day tomorrow. Roster cuts. Some of those cuts already happening for the San Francisco 49ers. More on that. But I do want to remind everybody to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. And I mean it, man. Before the season starts, a lot of you everydayers aren't even subbed up. So hit that subscribe button. Helps us out in that algorithm. And today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by FanDuel. Football season around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Lots to get into actually on today's show. Some of the cuts have begun, most of them not surprising. Interesting that the Niners are kind of down to two quarterbacks already now. So we know what the 53-man is going to look like at the quarterback position for the 49ers roster. We'll have to wait for tomorrow for a lot of those details to come out for the rest of the 49ers 53-man roster to start the season. Croc, one player who is going to be on the roster, Kyle Shanahan said post-game Saturday that Brian Robinson Jr. was brought in to be the number 2 running back. Stock down for Isaac Guerendo, as we talked about yesterday, because he was thought all offseason long to be the number 2 guy. And then he was competing with a couple of rookies. Both those guys got hurt. He comes back. Guerendo's looking good to be the backup again. And then the 49ers trade for Brian Robinson Jr. Brian Robinson Jr. said a couple of interesting things. One thing he said was basically what I took from it was he talked to Kyle Shanahan, and Kyle Shanahan said, look, we do things a certain way here. We need you to run a certain way. And from what I understand by what Brian Robinson said was he knows he needs to get downhill immediately. And that's what it's going to be about. That's why he was brought in for the 49ers. So we'll see what he looks like. Didn't do a lot of practice.
Wait. What other style does he run with? And you talk, I mean, he's a bigger guy, 6'1", 225.
Yeah.
Because here's my thing. If he's been running strong. He's a 4-yard per carry type running back. He's not just this explosive back. And I understand getting someone that you want them to fit, just the style of offense that you're running. I'd assume that's why you would trade for him and wouldn't change that. But are you trying to do something to where he gets hurt like all the other guys that run in your offense? Like, are you, he's done the certain things. He's played a lot of games. We went and we looked and it's like, hey, played 12 games this year, 14 games this year, 15 games this year. That's in one of those years he got shot. All right. So he's clearly been relatively healthy. 49ers running backs have been banged up a lot. So are you trying to use him as a sacrificial lamb? Like, are you trying to get him to just, hey, you just do all the dirty work? And if you play 17 games, great. But if you only play 8 because I'm changing your style, or you play 6 because I'm changing the style, now all of a sudden you're banged up and you're not running the same, like, hey, so be it. I don't know. I think you trade for a guy because, like, I like how you run. I like your style. Okay, let's mesh that with what we do, and then we'll be fine. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but
it does seem
he's been relatively healthy as opposed to what we've seen from a lot of 49er running backs.
It does seem a little weird that you have to tell the guy how you're going to do things at running back, in your first, like, hey, okay, if you're going to come here, you got to do it this way because this is how we do it here. Maybe you're looking too much into it. And we know what Kyle Shanahan's offense is, right? It's one cut, you see that hole and you hit it and you get downhill. And so I think Brian Robinson can be a nice piece there. 49ers clearly saw something that they liked in him. They had him in a pre-draft visit. They liked him pre-draft, but they also didn't see enough of him that they liked pre-draft that they didn't take Ty Davis Price instead, about 4 picks in front of where Brian Robinson went at the end of round 3. So maybe there was something that they saw where they're like, maybe we like this other guy a little bit better. They have leaned toward top speed with a lot of their running backs and draft picks, and maybe that was it with Brian Robinson. And maybe maybe he doesn't get downhill quick enough for their liking on tape. And that's why Kyle Shanahan wanted to make sure that he knows his job is to get downhill in this 49ers run game. The other thing he said that was a standout quote was that he said, look, I understand, respect everybody that's here. Christian McCaffrey, one of the best in the league, but I'm coming here to compete, and I think we are going to make the best running back duo in the NFL, Croc. What do you think? 49ers now have Christian McCaffrey, Brian Robinson Jr., the best running back duo in the NFL?
Well, when you just say that, who's the top 5 quarterbacks? Who's the top 10 quarterbacks? And you could throw a name out there, and it's like, well, clearly that guy's top 10 quarterback in the league. And then you start listing guys, and it's like, maybe he's 11 or 12, right? Yeah, and that could be anybody. I'm not talking about Brock Purdy, guys. Calm down. But when you think of running back duos, I have to ask you, like, well, I mean, who are the great running back duos in the NFL right now? And really, without even having to think about it, you said, well, there's 2 guys that's really good in Detroit. And I said, yeah, that's the best running back duo. Now, if Christian McCaffrey returns back to, hey, I am the offensive player of the year, then maybe there will be a conversation, especially if Robinson is productive as well. But I have a hard time thinking that Kyle Shanahan will have Christian McCaffrey share duties with the 49ers duo the same way that you have Sonic and Knuckles over there in Detroit. So that's just one tandem right there. Maybe they're top 5 for sure, but that Detroit one's going to be a hard one to top. It's more specifically because the usage of both guys. Like, they are scoring. I think I saw something that's like combined, they've had like over 50 touchdowns the last 2 years.
And traditionally, Brian Robinson, similar to a lot of bigger backs, Croc, that they usually get better as the game goes along, right? And that's not really how Kyle Shanahan has used any other running backs when Christian McCaffrey's healthy. Like, I wonder what Brian Robinson's going to say when Christian McCaffrey runs by him coming off the field with the number 1 in the air. He's like, 1 play? How am I supposed to get this 220-pound body ready to go and get downhill in 1 play? And then I'm going to come off the field. How I'm going to get that rhythm going. So that's an interesting one as well. And we'll see how that fits for Brian Robinson and the 49ers. He's a good player. They didn't pay a lot to get him. It is now a conditional 6th round pick, we know, which means the condition is whatever the latest pick in the 6th round is the one that the Washington Commanders are going to get. So the Niners have 2 6th round picks right now, theirs and one from the Minnesota Vikings. So whichever one of those picks is later is the one that the Washington Commanders are going to get from the 49ers for Brian Robinson Jr. Then the Commanders, to get even that pick, had to pick up a little bit of his salary in the last year of his contract as well. So the 2 trades the 49ers made, they didn't give up a lot at all to get Sky Moore and Brian Robinson Jr.
And that's positive for the 49ers.
Yeah.
I mean, you want guys that are going to contribute, but you don't have to have a long-term commitment to either one of the guys. But now if they are productive and they can contribute to a deep playoff run, then awesome. You got guys, didn't have to give up much for them, and you were able to get some productive out of 2 guys who have the potential or ability to be useful to the 49ers in different ways. If you told me, throw out the whole best duo in the league thing, but if it's just, this is a really good, I don't even want to call him a change of pace back, but all right, he's going to get 6 to 7 carries a game. I would say, man, that's a win if he can do that. And you can count on him to be out there. Like that would be a huge win for the 49ers. That would be very productive for them. And I think it would be definitely worth the trade. Yeah, I don't think you're looking for him to be Sonic and Knuckles like you have in Detroit or that type of tandem, but just someone that can take the load off of Christian McCaffrey just a little bit that Kyle Shanahan ultimately trusts. Does he trust him, though, if he's already trying to tell him how to change his run style?
Well, look, and if he's getting 10 carries a game, 10 plus carries, that probably is bad news for the 49ers. That means something happened to Christian McCaffrey. Very likely. But it's really nice for the depth for the 49ers. I liked, Jordan James. I thought he could have worked himself into a real role for the 49ers. His camp and preseason injury hurt that. Corey Kiner really hurts his opportunity to make the 53-man roster, injured now for the 49ers. So we'll see what official roster moves they make there. I would assume they only keep 4 running backs, which means it's James and Isaac Guerendo as the top 4. Or do they even shop Isaac Guerendo in trade potentially? I mean, I think there's some possibility for the 49ers to make some last-minute moves. We've already seen a lot of moves today, Monday. Some other teams are going to try to move players around. Could the 49ers pick up somebody on waivers from another team at one of these positions? Could they swing another trade as well for a player and maybe trade away a player? So stay tuned on that, because I don't think we're out of the woods on any of those roster moves as it pertains to the 49ers before that cut down, 4 Eastern Tuesday. And then even right after that with claiming guys as well and seeing who the 49ers players that they waive get claimed by somebody else. More on the cuts, more of the moves the 49ers are already doing. One move they did not make, but apparently they were in on, free agent wide receiver Amari Cooper before he signed with the Raiders. Next. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Tomorrow, as we were recording this, probably today for a lot of you listening to this podcast, August 26th, Tuesday, officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing your long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Take that flyer on an MVP that's maybe a little bit of a dark horse. Maybe you're ready to crown your champion. Maybe it's the San Francisco 49ers that you're picking to win Lombardi #6, or parlay your division winner dark horses. All you got to do is visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. We do have an important request for Locked On listeners. We want to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. So go to lockedonpodcasts.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcasts.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes, and appreciate you for helping us out. Amari Cooper. What do you think about this report from Diana Rossini? So the Raiders signed Amari Cooper today on a 1-year contract, and Cooper had interest from multiple teams, according to Diana Rossini and Tashawn Reed, including the 49ers. There's the only other team that was named in this report was the 49ers after signing with the Raiders, but he elects to sign with Las Vegas, according to the report. What are your thoughts on this? Is this the agent throwing some fluff out there? I mean, I can't imagine people were beating on Amari Cooper's door. And the fact that the 49ers were calling, this report makes it seem like Amari Cooper was way in demand and that he chose the Raiders over all else, including the 49ers. I'm not so sure I'm buying that. That sounds like something from the agent. If I had to guess, Croc, the 49ers probably called and checked in because they're one more injury away from having no choice but to sign somebody who could come in and play a bigger role than all the wide receivers they brought in. But if you look at the Robinson move, you look at the Sky Moore move we talked about, nearly free. They didn't pay a lot to get those guys in salary or in trade to bring them in. I don't know what the contract details are right now on Amari Cooper. It's probably not that big of money, but probably bigger money than these guys in the 4th year of their rookie contracts, $1.5 million or whatever. Do you think the 49ers were really like trying to get Amari Cooper and he said no and went to the Raiders instead? And if so, then why did the 49ers wait until August 25th to try to get that deal done when clearly they had wide receiver needs all along?
Well, I think we've seen the 49ers kind of hold out last minute on some things, even for a guy that they like, that was actually in their building and it didn't work out the way that they wanted to, right? Dre Greenlaw. The 49ers are like, yeah, man, I mean, we flew to Denver or Texas, wherever they flew, to go talk to him and try to get him to come back to the 49ers, but the damage was already done. So I wonder if with Amari Cooper, the 49ers maybe made a late push as opposed to the initial push. And by then, Amari's just like, well, I can already see how the Raiders plan to utilize me. I would have a continuous bigger role with the Raiders as opposed to the 49ers who are planning for guys to come back I think that was a big conversation with Devondre Campbell with the 49ers, right? Where it's like, yeah, you're the guy for now. And then once Drake Greenlaw comes back, he's going to be the guy. Drake Greenlaw came back. Campbell didn't like that. But we know they told people that because they told the same thing to the linebacker as a brother, Kendricks. And he ended up going to the Dallas Cowboys. Remember, he was going to sign with the Niners, and they were like, Greenlaw's our guy. And then he was like, you know what? All right, cool. Not something for me. Maybe that was a situation with Amari Cooper where they're like, look, you know, we'll give you some opportunities early on, but at some point we will have Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall. We'll have our Ricky Watkins that we kind of like, and we want to integrate him into the offense to kind of try to get him going. You'll have to take a back seat to some of these guys, and you may not get the targets that you like. And it's like, you know, well, this may not be the place for me. And I'll go to the Raiders, who I don't even know who the hell they have at receiver right now. They got Brock Bowers at tight end.
Yeah, Brock Bowers at tight end. This kind of comes at the same time that Jacoby Myers had said he wanted a new contract and has asked for a trade all of a sudden as well. And this all kind of happening at the same time for the Raiders. Jacoby Myers has been playing better wide receiver than Amari Cooper in recent history. And we were talking about Jacoby Myers.
I like Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, and we were talking about him as a comp for Juwan Jennings' contract. But if the 49ers don't want to give Juwan Jennings more money, they're not going to trade for Jacoby Myers and pay him that money either, I would not imagine. And now that we kind of talked through it a little bit with Amari Cooper, one of the big things that probably happened was if Amari Cooper got that 1 year, $10 million contract he probably wanted early in the offseason, he'd be on whatever team offered him that. The Niners are probably saying like, hey, Amari, we like you. They probably checked in earlier in the offseason. Like, we'll give you we'll give you the Robbie Chosen, Russell Gage league minimum, but that's all we're going to offer. And then the Raiders are like, well, we'll give you $3 million or whatever. He's like, okay, I'll take that. That's 3 times, twice as much as what the Niners are offering me or whatever. So that might be the situation as well, where the Niners are just straight up lowballing them. Like, look, we'll give you one of these, vet street free agent contracts, but we're not going to give you anything substantial on a 1 year deal. And that's probably somewhat likely now that I think about it. If the 49ers were in on it more than just calling to check in with Amari Cooper.
Demarcus Robinson, another guy that I didn't even mention. I mentioned all these receivers, and clearly this seems to be someone, if they're willing to sign a guy knowing that he will be suspended and miss the first, few games of the year, and clearly he's been one of the guys that has gotten a lot of opportunities throughout training camp. I think they're banking on him being a part of this team as well. So, week one, the Juwan Jennings thing, when we got off from recording last night, I saw kind of a report that maybe it could potentially be a little bit more serious than just, it's a calf like last year and he'll be good to go. Sound like it may be something that could be lingering a little. And he had to kind of go and get some outside source type, stem cell. He got some kind of procedure done to kind of help it move along a little bit. So who knows if he's going to be 100% healthy week one, or if this calf thing may be a little bit more serious. Because if that's the case, and you're down Demarcus Robinson and you're down Brandon Ayuk, the 49ers definitely I could see them calling a guy like Amari Cooper and be like, look, we do need your services at least for the first quarter of the season. I could also see that not being okay with him. Right.
Yeah, I think a lot on the table. Big year for Juwan Jennings too, to be an impending free agent, and you want to be healthy to go out there and put your best foot forward, put that tape out there. If you don't sign with the Niners long term, to sign with somebody else long term and get that Jacoby Myers plus contract that we were talking about. So yeah, we're not out of the woods yet. This next less than 24 hours now could get very interesting into Tuesday afternoon before the cut downs are made, and even after that as well. Talking about waivers, claiming guys, cutting guys. Cuts have already begun, Croc. So let's get into the roster cuts and what to expect Tuesday next. This episode of Locked On 49ers presented by Yahoo Fantasy. NFL season, it's right there. You can feel it, and that buzz is happening. A lot of fantasy drafts happening this week. I just had a draft Sunday. Gonna have another draft on Labor Day weekend, which is always a lot of fun, going and having a draft in person with some old friends and having a good old time. And everyone's researching, drafting, building their championship squads. And if you haven't joined the league yet, now's the time. And it's all happening on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, I'm playing Yahoo Fantasy like I have for 20 years. Yahoo's been doing it for 28 years, by the way. So whether you're a first timer or a veteran making your millionth league, you can get in on the action at Yahoo as well. Season kicking off September 4th, Thursday. Now's the time to start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football. More ways to play. Brand new Guillotine League mode. You want to play instantly with friends? The new Draft with Friends mode. And, of course, all the classics. Head-to-head private leagues. And if you don't have your crew to get together, no problem. Join a public league. The easiest way to play right now. And all you got to do is go to yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl, and you can join a league right now, whether you got a crew or not. The NFL season kicks off September 4th, so don't wait. Start your league now. Draft at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. So 49ers 7th round quarterback Curtis Crock, still on the injured list. We'll see, it's NFI, which is non-football injury, which means he got hurt away from the 49ers. It was a football injury, but not with the 49ers. So NFI is the list he's on. I'm not sure if that just converts to an IR to where he could be able to return if you just stay on NFI into the season, or if you just have to go on that season-ending IR if they don't want that roster spot. But as of now, they're going to have 2 quarterbacks on the 53-man roster. And that's it, because they've already waived/injured both of the quarterbacks that played in the 3rd preseason game in Carter Bradley and Tanner Mordecai. So the difference between waiving a player and putting them on injured reserve and waived injured, both quarterbacks hurt their ankles. Waived injured means that they're put through waivers, and if they're not claimed, then they revert back to the 49ers, but on IR, which would mean their seasons are over. So either way, Carter Bradley, Tanner Mordecai aren't going to play for the 49ers this year, and they're not even going to be on the practice squad because that means they're going to be on IR this year. So the 49ers might be on the lookout, if Curtis Rourke is not going to be back this year, for a practice squad quarterback. And Hendon Hooker, the Eagles, who did the Eagles release? There's some quarterbacks out there that maybe we shouldn't be shocked if the 49ers even snag and put on the 53 and claim off waivers, or sneak onto the practice squad. So I think quarterback, the 49ers are not done right now in the short term until Curtis Rourke is ready to be that number 3 guy. And that might not be until the 2026 season. So down to 2 quarterbacks currently in Brock Purdy and Mac Jones on the initial 53-man roster. And they have also cut one of their running backs, not Jeff Wilson.
Hold on. I think there's something on the quarterback thing.
Okay.
I think there is an easy fix for them at quarterback. Now, most teams only want to go 2 quarterbacks, right? Like typically that's what you see around the NFL. 49ers have had some kind of weird quarterback situation, so they kind of carry, 3 quarterbacks at a time. But most teams around the league, you look, they're carrying 2 quarterbacks on their active roster. Then they may have a practice squad guy that they can kind of elevate up and down. Nate Sudfeld, and they had that weird situation with him, brought him in, let him go. It's really weird. Never even, I don't think, stepped on the field, but they know who he is. And I can see that being the guy that they bring back and put on the practice squad. And if need be, and he needs to be elevated for a game, I think they'd be very comfortable doing that. So I think that's kind of the contingency plan for the 49ers right now. Yeah, we can let go of Mordecai and Bradley and whatever, pay you guys injured reserve money. But, Nate Sudfeld, you kind of have him in your back pocket if need be.
And and knowing that you have a really solid starter backup quarterback situation going on. And so that's the ideal, to have 2 quarterbacks, a strong backup, which the 49ers do in Mac Jones. And then you bring somebody else in the practice squad, either to develop or just a veteran break in case of emergency, or who knows, maybe even 2 quarterbacks. We'll see what they do there on the practice squad. Running back Keyshawn Vaughn was released by the 49ers. So the difference between waived and released, players who are on rookie contracts get waived, and they have to pass through the waiver period to be allowed to be brought back onto the practice squad. Vested veteran players just get straight up released, and they can just sign somewhere else. And so they don't have to go through the waiver process the same way. Isaiah Prince, offensive lineman, had 0 chance, I think, make the actual roster anyway. He got hurt late in that last preseason game. He is now headed to the injured reserve list this year. So Isaiah Prince, he'll be out for the season. And then a pair of defensive linemen were waived. Defensive lineman Jalen Allen and Shaquille Brown. And those guys actually, I think, are candidates for the practice squad. Jalen Allen looked the part. I think he was wearing number 76 and didn't play a lot in the preseason. They brought him in later after the start of camp from the the UFL or XFL or whatever. I get confused with what leagues are happening now, and didn't watch any of the spring leagues. But man, he's got length, and he looked the part. So I'd be interested to seeing him develop on the practice squad. So and Shaquille Brown, actually, I thought Shaquille Brown for part of the game was actually Alfred Collins. That's how big Shaquille Brown is too. To be honest with you, some of the best reps from Alfred Collins, it turns out, were actually Shaquille Brown when I was watching that last preseason game. So a couple of interesting players I see that could be practice squad candidates, as will a lot of the 90-man roster that gets cut and don't make the final 53. But those are the moves so far today. Some early roster movement before they make all of the main cuts on Tuesday to get down to 53.
Not an ideal situation for Alfred Collins when you think he's having a good game. Okay, there we go. I'm starting to see it now. It's like, oh, wait, that's actually not him.
That's exactly what happened. I was actually about to write it in my notes, and then I was like, oh, that's not 95. That's like 96 or something. Oh, shoot. Okay. And then I had to cross it out. It's like, okay, Shaquille Brown, though. Nice play there. I feel like I've been a little bit harsh on Alfred Collins, but it was kind of like he looked like what I thought he looked like in college. And I was like, I don't know if that's a top 50 guy. He's big, and you have to be more than just
I liked
big.
it more than you did,
Yeah.
right? Like I was the guy that was like, well, I've been waiting for the 49ers to get this type of defensive tackle that's just big, massive space heater, run stopper.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, so far, now again, we're very, very early in the process, and maybe being behind a guy like Jordan Elliott, there's time to develop it and all that great stuff. But I was saying I'm not expecting him to be this great pass rusher, but just come to the NFL and be what you were in college, which was, hey, I mean, I can plug some holes and be a terrific run stopper. And so far right now, everything has just kind of been a little inconsistent.
Yeah, and just fire off the ball, stay with leverage. You've got that natural size and power to be a problem for offensive linemen, and get your arms up when the ball comes out and bat the ball down, if nothing else. The problem is the 49ers right now, because Evan Anderson had a nice camp this year. He had a nice camp last year, but he's kind of like that nose tackle type. And it's funny because they've needed this type of player, and they had Evan Anderson that they brought in as an undrafted free agent last year. Then they drafted Collins, and then they drafted CJ West in the 4th round, who's looked pretty good. And then Sebastian Valdez, a undrafted free agent, has looked really good. But those are all like power interior guys. None of them are like 3 technique pass rushers at all. So they kind of all are they're built different and kind of play different stylistically, but they would all kind of play that bigger defensive tackle role ideally. So I still don't know who's going to go out there at 3 technique, and it might just be the guy who's been here longer in Kalia Davis that ends up getting the start. But Kalia Davis is one of those players where, like, I don't think we should be shocked Tuesday if he's cut, or be shocked if he's the starter in week 1. Like, that's how weird it is right now, defensive tackle. I think the one thing we do know is Jordan Elliott's going to get one of those spots. And it was good to see him look good in the last preseason game. Otherwise, I don't know. And you hope that Sebastian Valdez, as good as he looked, isn't a victim of the numbers game. And so I think Valdez and Drew Moss were really the guys that we talked about. You can't cut those 2 guys, but the numbers game can be harsh in the NFL. And I do want to remind fans out there that, whatever player that you're, pet, young rookie, whatever it is that you think is awesome and that you want that player to make the team and they get cut, don't get too disappointed, because every fan base and every team has those guys, and most of them do make it back. Now, sometimes they do get claimed. And I think both those players, Moss and Valdez, put enough tape out there to get claimed by another team if they don't make the team. But, there might be some other players out there the 49ers see from other rosters that they claim on waivers as well, and poach somebody else's guys. So most guys do make it back, because every team feels the same way. The Niners aren't the only team where like, oh man, there's some roster bubble guys. I hope they don't get claimed. Every team has a couple players like that they're like, oh, we got to cut somebody. So we hope that player makes it back and gets put on the practice squad. Who, by the way, the 49ers had 2 starters last year that got waived. Juwan Jennings got waived at one point, and so did Colton McKivitz, and they got him back, and they ended up starting and being big-time players for him, important players.
And we've also seen them waive players, and those players go elsewhere and end up being starters. So, it is something that you want to definitely keep an eye on, and teams around the league are definitely eyeballing guys. One thing that they tell you while being in the NFL, if you're, a roster bubble guy, which there's about 50 of them every year that's on the 90-man roster, if not more than that, you're auditioning for 31 other teams. And, they're very open and honest about that as well. So guys are trying to put their best foot forward when it comes to, putting things on film, because they know a lot of people are watching, and you hope that you do enough to stay where you are. But it just doesn't always work out that way.
Some guys get mad about it too, and don't want to go back to the team that cut him. Who was the running back that the Niners signed because he didn't want to go?
Jeremy McNichols.
McNichols, that's who it was. Yeah,
who is still in the NFL.
Still bouncing around.
Who did he play for last year? Because I definitely saw Jeremy. I saw him in the NFL running last year. Was it Washington? Oh yeah, Washington Commanders.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. All right, so Jeremy McNichols, career history. Tampa Bay Buccaneers offseason as a rookie. He was let go, signed with the 49ers in 2017, right after being let go by Tampa. Since then, he has been with the 49ers, Indianapolis Colts, Denver Broncos, Tennessee Titans, Chicago Bears, Jacksonville Jaguars, Tennessee Titans again for 2 seasons, Atlanta Falcons for an offseason, Pittsburgh Steelers for an offseason, back with the San Francisco 49ers, and then picked up by the Washington Commanders and has been with them since last season. So he has a lot of closet full of gear.
That's a true journeyman right there, man. That's phenomenal stuff.
Not just a true journeyman. The truest journeyman is Josh Johnson, and we're not even going to go through his list. Who's like currently 39 years old, so he's been all over the NFL. But for a running back, who he's been in the league a while now, since 2017. So what's that? 8-9 years. That's a pretty damn good career, and it hasn't been the easiest of careers for him. But he's clearly making the most out of every opportunity.
Yeah, and for a guy that was cut in his rookie camp and made a career out of it. So yeah, just not making that first 53, especially for an undrafted rookie, you still have an opportunity, and it might be an opportunity with the team that cuts you, might be an opportunity with another team too. So it's gonna be fascinating. Feel like there's another move that the 49ers might have up their sleeve on Tuesday as well, whether it's bringing someone in from another team, a trade, someone going, someone coming, just to make the numbers fit, because it's a really interesting year for the 49ers to make those numbers make sense for the guys they have to keep to have the right amount of bodies to get into week 1. So stay tuned here. Croc and I will have it all covered. We'll come back post cut down time, and we'll know exactly who made the 49ers. I always want to say final. It's not the final 53. It's the initial 53-man roster for 2025. So stay tuned and subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. And Croc and I back tomorrow right here, Locked On 49ers.